should probably start by saying this. I still don't know how long he stood there before I noticed him. Sometimes when I try to fall asleep, I swear I can hear the same slow breathing I heard that night, just on the other side of my door. But let me back up. This happened about 2 years ago, late November, when the nights felt heavier than usual. I was living alone in a small basement apartment just outside town. Nothing fancy, but cheap enough for a broke student like me. The place had only 2 rooms, a bathroom, and this narrow hallway that led to my bedroom. The kind of hallway where the light flickers for no reason. That night I came home later than usual. It was around 11:42 p.m. I remember because I checked my phone the moment I stepped inside. I'd been studying at a friend's place, and my brain felt fried. All I wanted was to crash on my bed and not think for at least 7 hours. The apartment felt colder than normal. I figured the old radiator was acting up again. I tossed my bag on the couch, kicked off my shoes, and walked to the bathroom to wash my face. Everything seemed normal. Everything looked normal, but the whole time, something felt off, like the air had weight to it. Like I had walked into a room right after someone else had left. I tried to ignore it. After brushing my teeth, I turned off the bathroom light and walked toward my bedroom. I didn't close the door all the way. I never do, just left it slightly ajar so I could hear if anyone came in. I know that sounds paranoid, but basement apartments mess with your sense of safety. I lay down on my bed, pulled the blanket over myself, and stared at the ceiling. It was quiet, too quiet. No cars outside, no pipes rattling, not even the usual hum from the fridge. Just silence. I closed my eyes and maybe 10 minutes passed before I heard it. A click, soft, sharp, like someone lightly touching the metal part of my bedroom door. I opened my eyes. At first I thought maybe the door just shifted on its own. Drafts happen, wood expands, houses settle. But then I heard the second sound, a breath, slow, controlled, like someone was trying not to breathe loudly. I felt my whole body go stiff. I didn't move, didn't speak, just listened. Another breath, closer this time. My heart was pounding so hard I thought whoever was out there could definitely hear it. I shifted slightly, just enough to see the door from where I lay. The gap was maybe 3 inches wide, just enough to see darkness and the faintest outline of something standing behind it. I didn't scream, didn't jump out of bed. I just froze completely. Whoever it was, or whatever it was, didn't move, didn't say anything. We just stayed like that, me in bed, them behind the door, breathing, slowly, steadily. I remember swallowing hard, and the sound felt loud enough to echo through the entire apartment. That's when I finally reached for my phone. I didn't grab it. I just slid my hand across the mattress, praying the movement didn't make a sound. But when my fingers touched the screen, it lit up. Just a soft glow, but enough to illuminate the door. Enough to show me something that still chills me to this day. A shadow, perfectly still, right behind my door. I couldn't see a face, couldn't see clothes, just a tall, human-shaped silhouette that didn't move, didn't react, didn't flinch at the light. I should have called someone. I should have yelled. I should have done anything, but I didn't. I just lay there staring while my phone screen dimmed and went black again, and the room fell back into darkness. For a long time, I have no idea how long, nothing changed. I thought maybe I was imagining it. Maybe the shadow was just the angle of the light, or my tired brain playing tricks. But then I heard the sound that proved it wasn't in my head. The slowest, softest shift of a foot against the hallway floor. He had moved, just slightly. I felt panic rise up my throat. I gripped my mattress with both hands and prepared to bolt through the window if I had to. But before I could do anything at all, my phone lit up again, this time on its own. The notification was from my security app, the cheap one that came with the apartment. Motion detected, hallway camera. My blood turned cold. I tapped the notification with shaking fingers, and the live feed opened. It didn't show the door, didn't show the hallway. It showed something else. The camera was facing the wrong direction. It was pointing directly at the floor. Someone had touched it. Someone had moved it. I watched the blurry, low-resolution feed for maybe 10 seconds, trying to understand what I was seeing. And that's when a new shape appeared on the screen. A foot, bare, dirty, stepping into view. I didn't look at the door when it happened. I didn't need to. I could feel him move. A slow shift, a long inhale, the faintest scrape of a fingernail brushing the wood. That sound broke something inside me. I leaped from the bed and sprinted toward the window. Didn't look behind me, didn't turn on any lights. I unlocked the window so fast I ripped part of the frame off. Then I climbed out, scraping my arm on the way, and dropped into the cold dirt outside. I ran, barefoot, shaking, half in shock. I didn't stop running until I reached the far end of the parking lot, standing under the streetlight like some terrified stray animal. I called the police, but I didn't go back inside until they arrived. And when they checked the apartment, nothing. No open windows, no damaged locks, no footprints, no signs of anyone hiding. But they did point out one strange thing. My bedroom door was now fully open. I know what I heard. I know what I saw. And the part that keeps me awake at night, the hall camera, the one pointed at the floor. When the police reviewed the footage, the officer asked me a question I still can't get out of my head. "Are you sure you didn't move this camera yourself earlier today?" I told him no. "Of course not. Why would I?" He paused, then turned the screen toward me. The footage showed the camera being grabbed and tilted downward, but the hand that grabbed it, it wasn't shaking. It wasn't rushed. It looked calm, almost deliberate. And the police think that means it was me, but I know it wasn't. And the police think that means it was me, but I know it wasn't. I know because of the last frame before the camera moved, a tall shape walked past it, not close, just enough to trigger the motion sensor. Someone else was in the apartment, someone standing just outside my bedroom door, someone breathing, someone waiting. And the worst part? The footage ended with a reflection in the hallway mirror. So blurry I can't make out a face, but the height, the outline, the shape, it wasn't mine. And every night since then, whether I'm in a hotel or at a friend's place or lying in bed with the lights on, I still hear the same slow breathing stop right outside my door. I always thought the scariest nights were the ones where something actually happened. But after what I experienced on Route 19, I realized something worse. The scariest nights are the ones where you don't know what happened, only that someone else was there. This was last year, early March. I remember because it was still cold enough that my breath fogged the windshield. I had left my cousin's house a little after 12:17 a.m., later than I planned, and I took the long back road home. A quiet two-lane highway with no streetlights, just trees and that wide, empty darkness. Route 19 always made me uneasy. Even in daylight, it had this stretched-out, abandoned feeling. At night, it felt like driving through a tunnel with no end. I was tired, not exhausted, just that quiet tired where your mind drifts and you start thinking too much about your own headlights. The radio wasn't on. My phone was on silent. It was just me and the road. About 15 minutes into the drive, I saw her, a girl, standing on the shoulder. She was facing the trees, not the road, which immediately felt wrong. Her arms were stiff by her sides, and she wasn't moving at all, not even when my headlights swept over her. At first, I thought she was lost, or maybe drunk. I slowed down, not stopping, but slowing enough to get a better look. She looked normal. Jeans, dark jacket, hair tied back. But she was standing so still, it didn't look human at first. Just this frozen outline staring into the woods. I drove past without stopping. I know that makes me sound heartless, but something about the way she stood there, not waving, not calling out, not even reacting, made every instinct in me say, keep going. I checked my rearview mirror. She hadn't turned around, hadn't moved, just that still, stiff shape at the tree line. I drove another mile before the guilt set in. What if she was hurt? What if she needed help? What if she'd been in an accident? So I pulled into this little gravel lot near an old abandoned rest stop, turned my car around and started heading back. It was less than a 2-minute drive. She should have still been there, but she wasn't. I scanned both sides of the road. Nothing. No movement. No shadows. No girl. I even slowed to a crawl and rolled down my window. "Hello? Are you okay?" My voice felt swallowed by the dark. Still nothing. I drove back to the spot where she had stood, pulled onto the gravel shoulder, and got out of my car. The cold hit instantly. That really sharp, metallic cold that shouldn't have felt as strong as it did. I pointed my phone flashlight toward the trees and called out again. No answer. I stepped forward, trying to see if there were footprints or any sign of someone walking off. But the ground was too hard, the dirt too frozen, and then, in the beam of my flashlight, something reflected back at me. Not eyes, not a face, a piece of fabric, a strip of dark blue cloth snagged on a low branch. Her jacket. It had to be. I walked closer, reaching for it. That's when I heard it. A voice. Not behind me, not beside me. From deeper inside the woods. A single word. "Stop!" I froze instantly. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't panicked. It was whispered, but clear. A girl's voice. I held my light toward the sound, but all I saw were trees. "Are you hurt?" I called out. "If you need help, just say, 'Stop.'" Same tone, same distance, same voice, like she was repeating it, like she didn't want me going any closer. I took one step back toward the road. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to speak again. "I can call someone. Tell me where you—" "Stop." Again, but this time, it was closer. Not much, maybe a few feet, but enough to make the hairs on my neck rise. I aimed my flashlight at the exact point the voice came from. Nothing. No movement. Just dense trees and blackness. "Where are you?" I whispered. Silence, then twigs snapping. Not loud, not clumsy. Soft, rhythmic, like footsteps, but not walking away, walking around. Slow, deliberate, almost circling. That's when I noticed something else. Something I swear I hadn't heard when I got out of the car. Breathing. A faint, shaky inhale. A drawn-out exhale. Not mine. I turned quickly, shining the flashlight behind me. Nothing. But the breathing didn't stop. It shifted, moved, like it was adjusting to my movement. That's it. I panicked. I ran back to my car so fast I nearly dropped my phone. I slammed the door, locked it, and peeled off the gravel shoulder hard enough to fishtail. I didn't look back. I didn't stop until I reached the next gas station. One of those old 24-hour places with flickering lights and a single cashier who looks like he's seen everything. I parked near the door, got out, and walked inside. The cashier looked up. "You okay?" he asked. I must have looked pale or shaken because he stared at me longer than normal. I told him someone might be hurt on Route 19, that I'd seen a girl and heard her in the woods. I expected him to call the police right away. Instead, he gave me this long, confused look. "You said you saw her?" "Yeah. 12:30-ish? Closer to 12:40. He nodded slowly, almost like he was confirming something. Then he said, "No one should be out there tonight." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer at first. He walked to the counter, lifted a box of receipts, and pulled out this small notepad. He flipped through a few pages and turned it toward me. There were dates, times, short notes, and on the most recent page, maybe 40 minutes before I walked in, he had written, 11:58 p.m. Customer said he saw a girl standing on Route 19 near mile marker 34. I felt my mouth go dry. "What did he say she looked like?" I asked. The cashier shrugged. Didn't describe her, just said she didn't move when he passed. I felt my heart beat in my throat. Did he say she spoke? No, he just saw her, and then she wasn't there when he turned around. I swallowed hard. "Did you call anyone?" He shook his head. "State police know Route 19. They said if someone was out there, they'd check it." I didn't like that answer. not with how scared the man looked writing that down. I stayed at the gas station for a while, pretending to scroll on my phone, waiting for the fear to settle. It never did. Eventually, I decided to check something. I opened my phone's voice memo app. Sometimes it's accidentally recording if I hit the side button in my pocket. And sure enough, it had started a recording about 5 minutes before I got back into my car. My stomach dropped. Hands shaking, I pressed play. For the first few seconds, it was just ambient wind, leaves, my footsteps. Then I heard my own voice. "Are you hurt? If you need help, just say..." Then silence. Then, "Stop!" Her voice. But the recording didn't end there. A few seconds later, after I'd started backing away, when I thought the woods were silent, something else whispered into the microphone. Not the girl, not me. A second voice, lower, more broken, like someone trying to force words through a dry throat. It said, "Don't turn around." I never heard that in the moment. I would have remembered. I would have run faster. I don't know how close that second voice was, or if it was standing near me, or behind me, or beside me. All I know is that when I paused the recording, the cashier, who had been stocking shelves behind me, asked what I was listening to. I told him it was nothing, just a school assignment, because I knew if I let him hear it, he'd tell someone, and someone might tell me what they think was really in those woods. But I don't want to know, because whatever made that second voice, it wasn't trying to warn me, it was telling me what it wanted me to do. And sometimes when I'm driving that same road at night, glancing at the tree line the way you do when you can't help yourself, I swear I see her again. Same jacket, same stance, same stillness. But now, she's facing the road. I've lived in a lot of places, tiny dorms, basement apartments, shared flats, but nothing has stuck with me the way the old house on Maple Ridge has. If I close my eyes right now, I can still hear the sound that haunted me the entire 3 months I stayed there. Footsteps, slow, measured, directly underneath my bedroom floor. The thing is, my bedroom was on the ground floor. There was no underneath, but I didn't know that when I first moved in. I had just gotten out of a rough roommate situation and needed somewhere quiet, cheap, and temporary. The ad said the place was an older home with vintage charm. That should have been a red flag, but I ignored it. When I first stepped inside, the house felt hollow, like a museum after closing hours. A place that remembered people being inside but hadn't seen any in a long time. I rented the smallest room, the one at the end of the hallway. Wooden floor, single window, a door that stuck if you didn't pull it hard enough. The landlord told me 2 things I should have paid attention to. 1, don't store anything under the house. 2, if you hear the pipes, ignore them. Old houses make old noises. I shrugged it off. I didn't know the difference between old pipes and old problems. The first night, around 1:14 a.m., I was lying in bed scrolling my phone when I heard the sound. A soft, dragging step right underneath me, like someone shifting their weight on dusty wood. I sat up immediately, another step, heavier this time, then stillness. I held my breath listening, told myself it was the house settling or something stupid like that. But then I heard it again. 2 slow steps, then a pause, then 3, moving in a line beneath me. I swung my legs off the bed so fast I nearly fell. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and got onto my knees, pressing my ear to the floorboards. Silence. Nothing. I slept with headphones that night, but the next night it happened again, and the next. Always past 1 a.m., always the same pattern. Slow steps, pauses, shifting weight, breathing. Yes, sometimes I swear I heard breathing. I started telling myself it was animals under the house. Maybe raccoons or stray dogs. It was easier to accept that than the alternative. About a week later, I brought it up to the landlord. Not seriously, just a quick mention while paying rent. He froze. Not confused, not dismissive, just froze. "You hear something?" he asked quietly. "Yeah, like footsteps or—" "Don't go looking for it," he interrupted. I laughed awkwardly, but he didn't. He stared at me like I'd said something dangerous. Then he changed the subject so quickly it made the hair on my arms rise. That night the sound started earlier, around 12:52 a.m. But this time, there was something different. It wasn't underneath me. It was to the right, under the wall, like someone was standing directly beneath where the wall met the floor. I pressed my ear to the boards again, heart hammering, and listened. A step, then another. Then something scraped, like a fingertip dragging across wood. I jumped back instantly. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I decided to check under the house myself. I didn't tell the landlord. I didn't even tell anyone I was going. I just grabbed a flashlight and went out back. The entrance was a small wooden hatch, locked with an old rusted padlock. But here's the thing. The dirt around it looked disturbed, fresh, soft, like someone had been standing there recently. I leaned close to the hatch and held my ear against the wood. Nothing. Just faint cold air brushing against my skin through the tiny gaps. I left it alone. That night, everything fell apart. I was lying in bed around 1:07 a.m., trying to ignore the knot of fear in my chest. Then, thud. The loudest sound I'd heard since moving in, right under the center of my room. I sat up, gripping my blanket. Another thud, harder, closer to the wall. Then footsteps. Not slow this time. Fast, heavy, pacing, back and forth under my floor, like something was frantic or angry. I scrambled out of bed and pressed myself against the far wall, holding my breath. Then it stopped. Completely. For a full minute, there was silence so thick it felt suffocating. Then, tap, tap, tap. 3 knocks, directly under my feet. I swear my heart stopped. I lifted one foot off the floor instinctively. Then the knocking moved. To the left, to the right, circling the room beneath me. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just bolted out the door, ran down the hallway, and out of the house barefoot. I didn't stop running until I reached the streetlights at the end of the block. I called the landlord, screaming into the phone about someone under the house. He didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't ask what happened. He just said, "Stay out of the house, I'm coming." 20 minutes later, he pulled up in his truck and ran straight to the hatch without saying a word. He unlocked it and crawled inside with a flashlight. I stood in the yard shaking, listening to his boots crunch on dirt beneath the house. 5 minutes passed. Then he crawled out, face pale and tight. "There's nothing," he said. "No one." But he didn't meet my eyes. He locked the hatch, pocketed the key, and told me I should stay somewhere else for the night. I never went back. I grabbed what I could the next morning, during daylight, and never stepped foot in that room again. But here's what keeps me up. 2 days after I moved out, I saw the listing go back online. Same description, same price. But the last line was new. Do not access the crawl space. House is not structurally safe underneath. They never said it wasn't empty. And sometimes lying awake in safer places, far from that house, I still hear those slow, deliberate footsteps moving under my floor.